welcome back to the AURAK podcast, where we bring you the latest insights and information from all around campus and beyond. I'm your host, Ghada Shalabi, and today we have an exciting episode lined up for you. Joining us is Dr. Kevin Konecny, the Associate Provost of Student Affairs and an expert in international education and study abroad programs. Welcome to the show, Dr. Kevin.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I look forward to speaking today.
Okay, perfect. So let's get right into it. Starting off, in today's day and age, we live in a very globalized, interconnected world where people are constantly traveling, whether it be for tourism or education or, job opportunities abroad. And there seems to be a lot of benefits. So perhaps let's start by discussing the importance of study abroad programs and why should AURAK students consider it as an opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, here we are in the UAE, where we have such an international population. Our campus community alone, we have over 88 countries represented. And so a student coming to AURAK has, a great introduction to a global community. But the next step is to cultivate international skills by being abroad, to have an experience where they're outside of the UAE and they get to experience another culture. So I think that's a prime reason, because when they graduate, it's going to help to make them more marketable when they're looking for a position in whatever career field they choose.
Yeah. So, that sounds like a very important step for them. It might be an addition to who they are and the skills that they can achieve. So what are the study abroad options that AURAK offers to our students? Like what pathways can they take to do that?
We have many pathways, actually. So let me begin by talking a little bit about what we call our 3+1 and our 3+2 programs. So let's say, for example, a student's a business major and they think they might be interested in hospitality management or tourism. We have a program where they do 3 years here, and their fourth year they would spend in the U.S. at Appalachian State University, where we have a program there where they complete their degree there, and then they graduate from AURAK. Then some of our master's programs include computer science, which is with the University of Texas at Arlington. We have one at the University of Wyoming, which is petroleum engineering focused, mechanical engineering at Wayne State University. And the cool thing about these programs is students get to study at AURAK for 3 years. Then their fourth year, they're studying in the U.S. and they're pursuing their master's degree, but that fourth year of their undergraduate experience actually also counts as the first year of the master's program. And so then they stay for one more year after they graduate from AURAK, and they earn a master's degree. So it cuts a year off their graduate program, so it saves them money, and it also gives them the opportunity to have a really interesting study abroad experience in the U.S., and there are other options that they can do even beyond that. But that's some of our 3+2 and 3+1 study abroad programs. Another opportunity that students have is to take advantage of what we call reciprocal student exchange programs, where students can just do a semester abroad, and we have those programs in the U.S., we have some in Europe, and we have some in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, for example. So these are really interesting opportunities for our students to participate in. And then last but not least, now that we're sort of post-COVID, we're trying to grow what we call short-term faculty-led study abroad programs. And these programs allow a cohort of students to go with a faculty member and do maybe 10 or 12 days short-term connected to a class that they're taking. And that could be something in Central Asia, it could be in Europe, it could be in North America, it could be in South America. The opportunities there we're hoping will be endless as we develop that further.
Yeah. Well, that's actually amazing, because it seems like there are a lot of options, whether you want to, dip your toes in the water and maybe just go for a short-term thing, or, you want to commit and maybe stay for a bit of a longer period of time for 2 years. My next question was going to be about the most popular destinations that our students are interested in for study abroad programs. You kind of answered it already, but maybe there are, you want to get into more depth about that? Sure.
I can maybe punctuate that by saying that a lot of our students express an interest in both Europe and in North America. Those seem to be the two areas where there's the most interest. And so I think that's what we see. That's the trend for students. Yeah.
All right. So Beyond academic benefits, what other benefits can students get from studying abroad? Because, yeah, of course, in the classroom, they get a different perspective and all of that, and we discussed this. But outside of that, are there benefits that students can learn from studying abroad?
Sure. I think it's just the networking. When you study abroad in another country, you get the opportunity to meet people from that culture. They might have the opportunity to, like in our 3+2 programs, they would have the opportunity to do what's called F1 OPT, where a student can actually work for a few years on the extension of their student visa and get practical training in their field where they earn a full salary on a visa in the U.S. And that's pretty cool for our STEM students because it gives them 3 years post-master's to work in the U.S. As an extension of their master's training program.
Yeah. Well, as an AURAK student and hearing all of this information, I might be interested to join a program like that. My next step would be to know the requirements. What do I need to be able to apply for that, and how would I start my application? How would I go about that?
Sure. So there's two things, I guess. One would be depending on the major. Like if someone wants to do the 3+1 program or the 3+2 program, as soon as they come to AURAK as a new student, they need to be thinking about which courses they take so they would qualify for the program. Of course, you have to be a solid student. Most students would need to do a short-term semester abroad. They need to have at least a 2.5 CGPA as a minimum. And then to do the master's program, of course, they would need a higher score to qualify for the admissions entry to our partner university in addition to qualifying for our program. I think those are the two primary things that come to mind when you ask what's required.
Yeah. Well, of course, seeing is believing, and you'd have to try the experience to know for sure. But I think the next best thing would be hearing about a success story where an AURAK student already experienced that. And how was their experience?
Sure. Actually, we have a student right now who's studying abroad. He's doing a 2-semester reciprocal exchange program. He started in the spring, and he's going to continue in the fall. And he's right now at Wayne State University, and he's having an amazing experience. He happens to be of Yemeni origin. He's had a wonderful experience, and the thing that he expressed to me in a recent communication is, actually not so recent, a few months ago, he was expressing how amazed he was at how comfortable he was to study in Wayne State. He was a little nervous to be going to the U.S. And one of the things that we talked about before he went, but I guess he didn't really believe it till he had the experience, is it's interesting that outside of the Middle East region, the largest number of people of Arab origin are actually in Detroit, Michigan, in the United States. And so he was amazed that near where his apartment is, he can see a mosque nearby. He can really easily eat halal food without any problem. So he was just amazed at how friendly it was to study at Wayne State, where he could, feel he's away from home. He's studying in the U.S., but he's also comfortable because his heritage is he's made to feel comfortable with his cultural heritage. Yeah, he's able to adapt really easily. So that would be one amazing success story, and there are others. So students should come and see me and learn more about studying abroad, and they can learn what those other success stories are.
That's amazing. Well, finally, and before we wrap up, maybe I would say this would be the most important question. What would be your advice to students considering studying abroad options, but maybe hesitant, maybe too afraid to take the plunge?
Yeah, great question. I think it's just to piggyback off my last example, which is they should come and see us as soon as possible. Come to the Office of Student Affairs in Building D in the Student Affairs building, and schedule an appointment. Come see me or one of my colleagues and talk about study abroad as early as possible, because it's not the kind of thing you can do at the last minute. You can't decide in the middle of August that you want to go September 1st to another university. There are timelines to apply. So students should plan early and talk to us as early as possible, and we'll help them to position themselves so they're ready to do everything from get their visa to plan for the financial aspects of studying abroad.
Right. That's amazing advice. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kevin, for sharing your expertise and your insights today. It's been a fascinating discussion. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for our listeners for tuning in. If you are interested or if you have any other questions about studying abroad, please visit the Student Affairs office in Building D, as shared by Dr. Kevin. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.